Hello again, all you gardeners, and welcome to the Celtic Farm. This is Master Gardener Steve. Today we start a new series called Garden Revival, where we'll help ailing gardens and landscapes get back on track to full health and beauty. In this first episode, we're going to tackle a cottage garden with raised beds. It looked absolutely beautiful at the beginning of the season, but due to some irrigation problems, some high heat days coupled with owner absence for 2 weeks, it suffered an early demise here in August. It's given into weed overgrowth, but on a good note, quite a few of the perennials have survived. In this video series, we'll go ahead and tackle best practices for removing weeds and weed seeds from overgrown beds, show you how to refresh soil and raise beds, replace some ill-functioning irrigation to ensure proper watering, test the soil, and then finish it off with planting and a solid layer of mulch and how to maintain it over time. The garden consists of 4 raised beds and a 5th smaller raised bed in the center, surrounded by a picket fence. And with a decomposed granite path, it's got a great foundation and just needs a little TLC for a true garden revival. My first concern, obviously, is that we've got to pull the weeds and then limit the weed pressure as we plant these new beds. If I had more time, I'd solarize the soil for a few months to kill all the weeds, but we'll use some other techniques to quell those little devils. I don't like to use weed-killing chemicals, and I like to keep them out of the garden as best I can. So unfortunately, without spraying, as most gardeners know, there's really no great way to do this except getting down and pulling the weeds manually and prepping for that ibuprofen back later. You can use a shovel to remove the soil, but you're going to leave all the weed roots and have problems in the future. So in the first bed, I want to head and clear it out. You can see there's lots of leftover seed from the delphinium and bells of Ireland that populated these beds. These are both invasive because they produce so many seed pods. They're bells of Ireland and delphinium popping up all over the property where this cottage garden sits. So I do my best to go through and pull out the weeds, use my Tonto Hori Hori to get to the roots, and then there's a few things I do in the next steps. Number 1 is to remove the top 2 or 3 inches of soil. That's where the majority of seed head or any other roots. Once the topsoil is removed and the bed is relatively clean, I'll take a 3-day break between replanting and water the raised bed to see if any new weed seeds sprout. This is enough time for most weeds to germinate, and I typically take my weed flamer and treat the surface, killing any new sprouts and popping any weed seeds that exist in the soil with extreme heat. Obviously, be very careful in wildfire-prone regions not to start a fire. I'll go ahead and do this to my remaining beds and prep the garden for amending the soil. In the next episode, we'll test the soil, talk about good mixes for raised bed gardening, augment our bed soil, and prep for planting. Join us next time and subscribe for more episodes and gardening tips. Until then, happy gardening.